DCarsonCPA, MFC in the lines. We break out the whiteboards. Today we're going to talk about entity governance. There's a broad line, not to talk about the specific standards, but just to give you a general picture and overview. We can map in on services, help in the project process and advisory lines. It talks about project management, working with technology and business needs. Process engineering, which is about the engineering processes, of course, within your business for efficiency, and CFO advisory, which is all about using the financials, cost accounting, connecting the costs and drivers, and looking at the economics across your business model and the use of technology to optimize support of the front to back business lines. Financials run through everything you do. They are the strategic and operational support line, and our skills to work with those lines as well as the data lines and technology can be a significant factor to helping you out at your board and director level consulting, at your C-level executive consulting, or as the entity gets bigger and you get smaller pieces of things into the management lines here. But even in a bigger entity, we can help in a lot of ways for efficiency and growth, because what happens is over time, there's this balance where a large entity becomes more and more complex, and you kind of lose some of the lines to simple thinking about the needs for growth, efficiency, and improvements, which are common to all entities. So there's some combination of the experience of Fortune 500 as well as SMEs. SMEs are small and vital. They're lean. They look at growth. They look at efficiency and improvements. And large entities are more structured and deal with controls and those type of things. So there's a balance between those two lines of experience which we possess. That's strong skills to help at any role in the organization. We're going to concentrate now on the entity governance line. Those lines are about boards, directors, entity governance as mentioned. The ethics and compliance line is a critical line for boards, directors, senior executives who have a strong mindset in ethics. They set the tone, and the tone goes down to the organization. They lead on ethics and compliance, and their ability to set up strong programs which enforce ethics and compliance and, allow people to exist in an opportunity of optimal business environment where the right type of things are embraced is a critical and important thing. So a lot of people have reporting lines to help on issues within organizations and different internal pathways, including the internal audit lines to help on needs, and the lines of human resources and different professionals at different places that deal with different elements of things that pop up. But that could be a whole nother slide there, so let's keep it moving. As we talk about the lines, we think about strong controls, we think about financials, our skills, of course, in financials, the SOX and COSO lines for public companies. Those are governance controls, structures and frameworks about corporate governance. The lines of proxies for shareholders. Shareholders, of course, could be many shareholders in a company that's publicly or even privately held. It could be a small number, but we're thinking here about public companies. So you have the line of where you have lots of shareholders. When they band together for their interests, you have proxies, or certain institutional shareholders set up proxies, and that means they go in to send a message to directors. At a certain level of a proxy, you can get an initiative on the annual voting rights, and they can set up initiatives that the directors and boards will have to follow, because directors and boards are accountable to shareholders as well as the lines of societal governance of the entity. When you go down the line a little bit more, we think about the modern things of sustainability. Entities are more and more under pressure to be accountable. So to make sure that if they do have some sort of environmental impact, that they're mitigating that impact. And perhaps if they were in something where there's that type of impact, they may also be working on, let's say if you were working in some line that had an interaction with an environment that was not favorable, that can happen. It doesn't mean you're a bad entity. It just means you're doing something that's the way it goes in that line. But you probably also should have a constructive plan of how to ameliorate the effects you're having, or to undo those effects and make sure that you're mitigating environmental impacts, so you're finding a sustainable, responsible line. That's a very complex thing, because sustainability requires cost-benefit constraints. It requires balancing the needs of society, which the entity is supporting, and the broader needs of society for both direct and indirect stakeholders. Direct stakeholders could be customers, could be vendors, could be shareholders. Indirect stakeholders are societal stakeholders, because some people may or may not be clients of the entity. But at the end of the day, there's societal lines of accountability, because it's not just the shareholders, it's about the citizen stakeholders and the role that an entity plays accountable to citizen stakeholders, because ultimately any corporation lives in a local, regional, state, multi-state, national, and perhaps international environment. There's a lot of accountable lines, so a lot of complexity up there in the board. So the board level, you might have a director, probably have a director, chairperson is secretarial, keeps records. A lot of times those are corporate roles up there. For attorneys and corporate counsel helping out. Then you've got the lines of the individual directors who come with diverse experience in, and you've got the lines of the different structures in the entity. We're going to run through this real quick. It's a short video, so we don't have a lot of time, but directors oversee the CEO. They'll appoint a CEO. They have CEO searches. That's a big deal to get a CEO in place. CEO is an accountable line, looking over the lines of the CFO on financial, strategic, and operational. The COO is typically overseeing admin and ops lines, including logistics, clients, and vendors, compliance, and other points. You've got the CIO, CISO, CRO, CMO lines of the data and technology. You've got the sales line with client sales and onboarding, the CRO, Chief Risk Officer, the lines of internal audit, and the external lines of the CPA. All a lot to think about entity and governance, but that's a broad picture. I'm Dean Carson. The lines of DCarsonCPA can help you at any point in the chain. We work with strong lines of global financial decision-making about the entity to economy and economy to entity lines. I'm Dean Carson. We're here to help on your role.